is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Got to hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third. And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single-season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straightaway three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. That means, of course, it's time for the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for the fans.
By the fans.
That's right. And that is, of course, I'm Jason Eidsmoe. Alongside me via Skype, of course, is Josh Taylor in the hot desert of Arizona with his new favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. Justin Smead is coming from Alpine, California. We have Jake Hefner coming from Northern Canada, one of the writers at boltbeat.com. How's everybody doing today?
Good, brother. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
A few things I want to talk about. First of all, people, when you're listening to our show, you can hear us. You can listen to us through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. And every Wednesday and then every Sunday before the Charger games, you can listen to us live on Spreaker.com. But we have added a new platform. We are so excited to announce this. The New Media Radio Network. It's just starting out tomorrow, and we are going to be part of that. That's a 24-hour podcasting network. Our time slot's going to be every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 Eastern Standard Time. Go to their website. We'll be playing a commercial for them to kind of give you an idea what they're like. The website is working now, but it's actually dropping tomorrow. Right. Very exciting. What do you think about this, Justin? You're the one who kind of set all this up.
Well, hey, being on a few of their podcasts, they were originally WizWit Radio. I got to do a couple shows with them. They were kind of integrating into getting to know specific areas and what's going on with different teams. They brought me on a couple times to talk Charger football, which I was very happy to do. I loved it, and I loved their concept. And I forget the guy's name, and I'm sorry I'm drawing a blank here, but he kind of said this was going to happen like a couple years ago. He said he wanted to get this done. It's a 24-hour streaming live podcast network that you can listen to sports talk radio. They pull different podcasts from all over the nation, from the Midwest to the West Coast and the East Coast. It's a pretty cool concept, and they're going to start running shows. They're not going to be live all the time, but we're going to tape ours, and then they'll play it on their loop for us, and people from around the nation listening to this specific network can hear what's going on the West Coast with the San Diego Chargers.
We're all really, really happy, and we're honored that they invited us to be part of that. I thought it was real cool. For any of those listening on New Media Radio Network, we want to say thank you, and also, just so you know, keep listening on New Media Radio Network, of course, but jump on Spreaker Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock Western time on the West Coast here, and join and listen to us live. Jump in the chat room. It's lots of fun. We have a good time every Wednesday, and then we have a fun time Sunday mornings. Joshy, what do you think? Pretty cool thing, huh?
I'm just glad that Justin's finally picking up some of the weight.
Oh, wow. Well, I did pick up a few pounds since you've left.
No, you have not.
A little heavy,
Really?
That's great. No, Justin's been working this avenue for a little while now, and when he first told us about it, I was a little suspect just because, we've talked about a lot of things and not everything's come to fruition, but the fact that we can broaden our listening base, because as you guys well know, especially when we were doing the video cast when we first started out,
yeah,
we got a lot of people calling in from all over the country. We had people calling in from Pittsburgh, from Maine.
How fun was that? That was a blast.
There was people calling all over the country to talk to us and talk Chargers football because, as you guys well know, San Diego is a military town. People do move away like myself, still want to get Chargers news and information. And so now we get a chance to broaden that horizon a little further and hopefully bring in some more people to join the conversation. So
great point, Josh.
Yeah,
it's exciting. I'm very pleased.
Yes. And we did something really cool last Sunday. It was actually something that Jake had set up. He had suggested. Well, Justin set it up. Jake had suggested we do it. We went out to Cali Comfort, did the pregame show before the third preseason game. Tons of fun. We had requested jump on the line grab a set of headset and join us for a segment. We had a lot of people there. It was a lot of fun. Jake, we appreciate you suggesting that. And, of course, man, what a drive you had to come down here for that. So it was a lot of fun, and I hope we can do that again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was kind of nostalgic for me considering, you go back to 2 years ago, 3 years ago, however long it's been since I've joined you guys. And the first time, that we got to, at least for me, got to experience that at Cali Comfort, it was fantastic, doing another live one and to interact with the people there and just to see the crowd that came out for a 10 a.m. preseason game.
Yes.
Was even, just amazing. You almost kind of felt like with the noise and the excitement that was going on in there that it felt like it was an actual regular season game. Right. So I had a blast. It was great, doing it with you guys, doing a live podcast with you guys again. And I definitely hope that we can do another one here and don't have to wait so long until the next one rolls around.
Yeah,
I think we're going to set that up too, and I'll jump in real quick. I talked to Sean, and he's more than happy to have us. We just got to give him the dates we want to come down, and I think us three, including Mikey, and if Josh even wants to maybe make a trip down, if he wants to like have a little mini vacay, he can come down and join us.
Red eye, brother.
Yes, sir. But you know what I'm saying. We'll get it together, and we'll get another couple shows booked, and we'll start promoting it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun out there, and can't thank the Cali Comfort guys, especially Sean, enough for everything that they did, setting everything up. The second we walked in, they had a spot for us. They were ready for us as Class 1 place, first class organization, and not to mention how delicious the food is.
It's really good. It's phenomenal.
The food is amazing.
Yeah, part of the trouble is we do the show and we all wait to eat till afterwards, and we have to sit and smell and see all the food while we're doing the show. With all that being said, we got a lot of Charger stuff to talk about. And, of course, we can now remove the moratorium on Joey Bosa because he is a Charger. He did sign his contract. Everybody's happy. I want to read a quote to you guys that he said, however. I don't want to sit here and you know me, I'm not a huge fan of banging on Chargers. I don't like to say bad things about Chargers until they've earned it. Like Donald Butler took a long time before I finally started saying bad stuff about him. I want to read a quote from you, and I want to get your guys' reaction, of course, after mine, because I get to go first.
Of course.
Here's what he said. Every single day when people are leaving hateful comments on my Instagram or my Twitter and saying horrible things about my family and my parents and all this stuff about me, I was up early to help your team win and my team win. So I hope you'll support me now, and I'm going to continue doing everything I can to be successful and help this team be successful. The only thing I could say about that was, you're damn right, you better have been working hard because that's expected. You should have been doing all that stuff because even though you had not signed your contract yet, you knew you were going to get paid. You had to be ready coming in, and that, from me, is expected. That's expected. And all of my anger towards Joey Bosa is gone because Joey Bosa is a Charger. And I don't get angry with Chargers very easy. So before that, he was not a Charger. What's your thoughts on that, Justin?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's your job. You already knew you were going to sign eventually. We didn't know when. But that's expected of you as a pro athlete. You sign up for this. This is your job now. You damn right you should have been staying in shape. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, what I do want to focus on is the comment he made. What a great comment, because he's not very loud in his speech. He's very monotone. I can tell he's not a huge in front of public kind of guy. He just wants to be left alone kind of. I want to say my piece and go. Yeah. He had the ultimate response there. I was up early helping your team and getting ready to help your team and my team win ball games.
Which is what he should have been doing, by the way.
Well, he diffused the whole system, the whole situation there. He really brought attention to, I'm a team guy, forgive me. All's forgiven, Joey Bosa. Once you start hitting quarterbacks and you knock out Alex Smith in week 1, I'm going to be excited to have you.
For sure. Josh, what were your thoughts on Joey Bosa finally coming in?
I was excited. It's been a long, frustrating, about 120 days or however long it's been since we drafted him. And, we were so amped and excited when we drafted him, even though there was a little suspect coming out of college. We're extremely excited to have this guy and what he can bring to the table for this team. And then this whole long, drawn-out process and all the negativity and his mom making Eli comments. And it was finally good to just get it over with and get him in on the field with our guys, working together, and let them start gelling, because chemistry is the number one thing in sports, and you need to get them on the field. You need to get them working with these guys, gelling together, so that way himself, but the defense as a whole, can work as one unit.
Jake, any anger or any feelings you had towards Joey Bosa? Is it all gone now that he signed?
Look, I just want to make one thing perfectly clear to close this out. Myself, as well as with you guys, as well with a lot of fans that are out there, it may have been perceived as anger from a lot of us, as just mad about the entire situation and how it was being drawn out. But in reality, it was just frustration, because we've been down this road before, and then to hear coalition comments made with Eli Manning, it's the last thing that Charger fans want to hear. So all in all, we were just frustrated for the fact that it really had to carry on this long. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what did we want? We wanted two things. We wanted him to sign, get in camp, and get to work. Those two things have now happened.
We wanted to see him.
Yes, we wanted to see him out there. Sure. That is now come to fruition. It's time to go to work. I have now put all of this behind me, as I hope that the rest of the Chargers fan base has as well, and doesn't hold any ill will toward this kid. He's a rookie. He's a young kid. Not everybody comes in is the sharpest knife in the drawer as far as how they're supposed to go about business, or how they're supposed to be, conducting themselves. It's still a learning process, especially from a business type of standpoint in this league. Never forget that. So it's behind all of us now. Hopefully, let's get to work. I'm eyeballing tomorrow's game, and I'm eyeballing week 1 against Kansas City. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, the last real quick thing, we were upset because we're all part of a group, we're all part of a family, we're all part of the Charger family. It felt like he didn't want to be part of that, and that's what our anger was.
Good point. That's where the frustration came.
And ultimately it's business and all that stuff, and we're all ready. Like Jake said, we're all ready to move on. It's all behind us now. All we want to see is
if you saw the photos from yesterday, the defensive line seemed like they're ready to squash all that crap too. So it was good to see them all just having fun out there, goofing around with him, and now he's got to go buy him dinner. So it's great.
Now let's get him on the field so he can rip Alex Smith's head off.
Yes.
Perfect.
Agreed. Wide receivers, interesting stuff. Before the season started, we looked at the wide receivers and thought about how much depth we have and how awesome our wide receivers are going to be. And then Stevie Johnson went down. So the Chargers went out and they signed James Jones, and we're all thinking, great, and some people thought that was an upgrade at wide receiver over Stevie Johnson. Me personally, I didn't, but I did like the signing. Don't get me wrong. I was really happy they signed him. And then in the preseason, even in the last show we did, I was asking Jake, it's kind of funny. He's playing late into the games, and one of the comments Jake said was, well, he's still trying to learn the playbook, and he's still, well, obviously he wasn't able to pick that up because they released him. Now, Javonte Herndon got an injury release, and now our wide receivers are maybe not looking so deep. We got Keenan Allen, which, nobody has a problem with that. We brought in Travis Benjamin, number 2. We're all super high on Tyrell Williams. Credit to Justin and Jake for Tyrell Williams. I got to say that every single time. Now it looks like Dontrell Inman is, God, to me, Dontrell Inman's a lock to make the team now.
He has to be at this point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, when it gets to you. That's 4 wide receivers. We got Dom Williams, Isaiah Burst, Rasheed Bailey, and DeAndre Reeves. As far as I can tell, are the guys fighting for the 5th spot.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, what do you think about the wide receivers? Is that? Do you agree with that? Is that the guys that are fighting for the 5th spot? And is Inman a lock to make this team now?
Well, now here's one of the things that people, I know especially this preseason, like Inman hasn't caught a pass,
right?
That I've seen at least.
He did get his head knocked off.
First preseason game,
he lost his helmet.
Lost his helmet in the first preseason game after that vicious hit, and but this just goes to show the type of value that he brings. Now, what a lot of people don't really choose to remember is that Dontrell Inman is also an asset when it comes on special teams. Yes. So he can be used on both offense and the special teams core. So when you look at that, and when we talk about so much about how versatility plays into, making this team, especially when it comes for, role players, special teams is huge. And that's going to exactly relate how it is with the final wide receivers that are vying for a spot. Now, if you were to really rate offensively how these 3 guys have done, Dom Williams stands head and shoulders above the other 2 receivers in Isaiah Burst and DeAndre Reeves. Now, you add in the factor of Javonte Herndon was released. Now you really have to look at a special teams aspect because the Chargers still need a returner. And Isaiah Burst and DeAndre Reeves have those capabilities of doing that. I've been, pounding the table a little bit to see a little bit more of DeAndre Reeves. Hopefully he'll get his opportunity here in this last preseason game. But this was a kid out of Marshall who held records for his return capability and what he is able to do as far as yardage, as far as returns for touchdowns. So there's a lot of potential there with him. Obviously, Isaiah Burst has his talent roles and what he's able to do as a returner, and you've seen flashes of him in the offense.
Yes.
But this is definitely going to be a competition to watch for tomorrow night, and I'm excited to see how much playing time each of these guys are going to split, and obviously, who wants it more at the end of the day.
Wide receiver thoughts, Josh. What do you got?
Well, I kind of want a wide receiver / kick returner, Travis Benjamin. As far as I know, he was another reason we brought him in for the
just for punt returns. Though.
Correct?
I think it was just for punt returns.
Jake, can you clarify that?
I believe it was specifically just for punt returns because we did have Brandon Oliver in the kick return spot.
Which we don't know.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Next topic.
I'm not laughing because of the injury.
Next topic. So Josh, are you a little bit nervous now about our maybe somewhat lack of experience at wide receiver?
A little bit. I was really high on James Jones when we signed him. I was ecstatic, to be honest, and I was shocked as you guys were to see him working with the third teamers. Not even the second teamers. He was working with the third teamers in like late third quarter, fourth quarter action. Was it because he wasn't picking up the playbook, or was it his inability, or the fact that these youthful wide receivers that we have are just bigger and faster? And that's what we're going for. We're going for more of a youth movement at the wide receiving core. Because let's be honest, for a few years now, we've actually been fairly old in that aspect. Even going back to the Vincent Jackson days and so on and so forth. We've been kind of old in that aspect. Now you get Keenan Allen. He's a young stud. Travis Benjamin comes over from Cleveland. He can take the top off of the defense. And Tyrell Williams is just blowing everybody's mind, in my opinion. This guy is a superstar in the making. But let's not forget, too, and I know this is not wide receiver, but Hunter Henry is turning some heads. I mean, we kind of all were excited when we drafted him too, and the plays that he's making right now, whether it's in practice or in gameplay, is phenomenal. So I think we have a lot of positive things going moving forward in the passing game in general.
Justin, what's your thoughts on the wide receivers?
Yeah, kind of conundrum with James Jones. I was just like you guys. I thought that was a great pickup. Unfortunately, admittedly saying he wasn't picking up things well with the playbook, and it's a little bit of a complex system. It's not the easiest thing to learn, I'm sure, with a Phillip Rivers ran system, also with a Ken Whisenhunt system that they've had in place here for a while. So that being said, I do like Reeves. I do like Isaiah Bruce a lot. I think they both have a little bit of potential in them. I just think the Chargers have to go out and get some guys, whether it's other positions or receivers. So we'll see what happens on cut down day, and we'll see what veterans are released, or even young guys that they might just don't have room for on other teams. I hope they pick somebody up. I'd really like to see maybe a veteran type receiver with some experience come in here to help the receiving corps.
Hey, Jake, do you think there's a chance the Chargers go into the season with only 4 wide receivers on the roster?
No, I believe that one of these guys, it was similar to how it was last year. I believe that they ended up keeping 5 with Dontrell being one. He ended up making the 5th, and then of course you had Jacoby Jones, who was factored in there because of kick return duties. He fizzled out, and then Javonte Herndon had to come in. So there was a little bit of a rotation on the back end. But I think that especially if it comes down to return capabilities, you'd have to keep one of these guys vying for this final roster spot as far as wide receivers go, because I don't think yet, as far as what we've seen in the preseason, that you can really say that there's a clear-cut returner that you would officially want, that you'd be comfortable with, because I can tell you right now, I don't want Travis Benjamin out there. I don't want Keenan Allen there fielding kicks. So I would feel a lot more comfortable with guys who obviously have had a little bit more experience of it. I think the biggest loss in reality when it came to Brandon Oliver, obviously we know what he can do as a change of pace back, but we also forget what he can do in the return game. But I never actually figured that he would win out on that return job. I figured it would actually be one of these young wide receivers. So it'll be interesting to see the type of plays that they can make tomorrow night, because I think that one of them actually has a legitimate shot to be that 5th receiver.
And let's not forget, guys, too. I mean, this could factor in as well. You're not going to see a lot of kickoff returns this year. I mean, just be honest. You're not going to see many guys returning kicks with how deep they're going to be kicking it now. That doesn't mean you don't need a quality guy back there or a guy that has some speed to burn, but let's keep that in mind too. I mean, do they base their decision on the return game? And I definitely don't want to see Benjamin or Keenan. Obviously, it's hard enough watching. It was hard enough watching Oliver back there. I didn't want him to get hurt. So I mean, for me, do your due diligence if you can when cuts are made. I do like these young guys, but they're really going to have to show me something in this last preseason game.
All right, we're going to go ahead, Josh.
Personally, I'm perfectly fine taking the ball at the 25 each and every time, because every time I see these guys, and not just during the Charger game, I watch in a lot of playoff games with the NFL Network, and it seems like a lot of teams are trying to get that little pooch kickoff going, and kicking the ball short on purpose to make these guys run, and they're getting tackled at like the 15. If they're lucky, they're making it to the 20.
Little strategy to it.
So yeah, I personally, if they're stupid enough to kick it in the end zone, I'm perfectly fine taking it at the 25.
The only thing that I worry about is that if our return game isn't up to snuff, people are going to try and pin us back and take advantage of that. We're going to move on to the wide receivers in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to let you hear about the new media network that we were joining. We're going to run a commercial from them. We will be back in a few minutes to talk about wide receivers and defensive line.
Calling all podcasters. Have you ever wanted your voice to be heard? Do you need help expanding your audience? Are you curious just how far your show could reach? Well, look no further. We are New Media Radio Network, the premier podcast streaming network. Let us take your show to the next level. For more information, check out our website, www.newmediaradio.net.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
All right, we are back. And, one thing that we got to see, Jake had mentioned he didn't think that Brandon Oliver was going to be the kickoff returner when the season started. And him and I were actually talking while we were watching the game. I liked Brandon Oliver returning kicks. I've kind of gotten away from even thinking there's a possibility of us taking one to the house anymore. And one of Jake's problems was he didn't think that he had the ability to take one to the house. I like the fact that he was going to get us to at least a 25 every time. That's all a moot point because I don't know if everybody saw it. First of all, did you guys see the actual injury? Did you see the close-up of that injury?
Yeah. Horrific.
Everybody in Cali Comfort saw the close-up of that injury. And
horrific.
Oh, my God. That was rough. It's not like a flopping bone or anything like that, but when you see an Achilles tendon pop like that and run up his leg like a rubber band, I felt terrible for the guy.
How did they even put that back together?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
Oh, terrible. That's terrible.
So
how does this keep happening, all these non-contact injuries? Is it a lack of them just not stretching or doing what they can to get their bodies ready? Or is this just a big fluke?
We've had this conversation for the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that you can't build up tendons. You can build up muscles. They keep building up muscles, but you can't build up tendons, and tendons can't handle it. So now the Chargers are in another quandary, in another position. We have, it could be a lot worse, guys. We got Melvin Gordon, who's looked excellent. We got Danny Woodhead, and we all know what we have with him. Now, we had Brandon Oliver, which the reason why I liked him as the next back is he kind of had a little bit of what both of these guys had. Not as good as either one of them, but he kind of was a good mixture of the two guys. Now, they did release Dre'Mius Smith, and, I got nothing against Dre'Mius Smith, but I've never seen anything for the last 2 years that told me that he's a good NFL running back. They picked up Gus Johnson. Kenneth Farrell,
the announcer for a play-by-play guy.
He's going to
be awesome. Him and Nick Hardwick in the booth. It's going to be great. He's going to be coming out of his freaking boots up in the booth there.
Kenneth Farrell, I liked a little bit what I saw in the first game. I don't remember seeing him too much since then. Anybody? We'll start with Josh this time. Kenneth Farrell, Gus Johnson, basically battling for the third running back spot. Is it Farrell's job to lose? What do you think is going to happen, or do you think they're going to pick somebody else up still?
Gosh, that's tough. Obviously picking up Gus Johnson, they see something in him and they think that he has a chance to be that number 3 guy. I think he has as much of a chance as Kenneth Farrell for sure. I'm nervous, honestly. We got Melvin Gordon, we got Danny Woodhead, but having that third solid, confident running back back there was nice, and now you kind of got some question marks, and so I'm personally a little concerned. But I would give because of actually time on the field, I'd give the slight edge to Gus Johnson, even though it's this late into the preseason.
What's your thoughts, Justin?
Well, I like Kenneth Farrell. I liked him when they drafted him. I talked about that a while back, and I know Jake had a few good things to say about him. So, not a lock to make the team, obviously. I'd like to see the Chargers make a trade. This is what I'd like to see. I don't know if it's going to happen. How to Gus Johnson or Kenneth Farrell, I can't tell you. I can't give you. I haven't even seen Gus Johnson play. To be very honest with you. Every time I Google Gus Johnson, I get highlights and screaming voices from NCAA football games. So, but I really like to see what the Chargers do something the Patriots do quite a bit is trade maybe a 7th round pick. And I know picks are valuable, but if you got an extra pick, use it. Maybe get a guy in here that's not a stud, but is solid. Is just a guy that's going to help your team if worse comes to worse. I would like to see a proven NFL running back, whether it's a 2-year vet or a 3-year vet. Bring him in. I don't want to see Donald Brown here.
I was just going to say Donald Brown.
I do not want to see him. I know there's a love affair somewhere out there with him. I don't have one,
I know.
to be honest. But I would like to see that. And I don't have anything against Farrow or Gus Johnson, but I don't like them as options.
Jake, what's our answer at the number 3 running back?
Justin, are you wavering on your Farrow? I mean, you were the one that quoted, said, remember this name.
Look, he hasn't done anything, though. He hasn't. Look, when we did this. Listen to me, Jake. We did this with Tyrell Williams.
So I'm saying you should be jumping at this opportunity right now.
I know, and I you know what? You're right, though. But it's when we mentioned Tyrell Williams together, and we both openly agreed, and nobody else was even like on his radar or on his jock like we were. We saw exactly. I see what you're doing over there, Jay. We were the guys. We saw something in him. I saw a lot in Kenneth Farrow when he was drafted from Houston, I want to say. I saw the way he ran. I'm not seeing that in the preseason. So I don't know. I've seen a couple decent runs, if I could even tell you if they were decent. But I just don't know, Jake. I want to believe he can make the squad. I think he's a tough runner. He's a good in-between-the-tackles guy. But what do you think, man? I know you watch more tape than I do. What's your opinion on Kenneth Farrow?
I'll say this, whether it's Kenneth Farrow or it's anybody else, I think his chances of making the final 53, especially right now, with Dremia Smith being released and obviously Brandon Oliver going on IR, I think his chances are extremely high.
Good.
Look, he has to have all the confidence in the world going into tomorrow's game for the fact knowing that other than Gus Johnson, who else is he running against in this?
Down the sideline.
Yes. Who else is he running against in this final preseason game? I don't believe it's anybody. If you look at the depth chart, I don't think there's anybody that's there.
There isn't.
So he's got a huge opportunity. Obviously, in Week 1 against Tennessee, I thought he did a great job. I thought he was
me
fantastic
too.
as far as what he was able to do on a short period of time for having the runs that he did, and. I think his pass blocking ability is actually an underrated commodity that he has. And that was another thing that we lose in Brandon Oliver is that he, even for his size, for as small as he was still able to get a few good pass blocking, plays in there as far as, third down protection. But, I don't know. It's going outside the box and looking at free agents at this point in time, do you really want to bring in someone this late, this close into the regular season? Obviously you still have the final cuts of everybody else that has to get down to the 53, so we don't know who's going to be released at that time. In my opinion right now, from what I've seen from Kenneth Farrow, do I say that he is the overall man for the number 3 job? No, absolutely not. But I think the preview that we got from him 3 weeks ago in Tennessee was enough. He obviously has to show a lot for me to truly be on the wagon tomorrow. But I think that his ability from coming out of Houston and what he's capable of doing with the ball when he gets it in his hands, I think is definitely something that is very positive for this offense as far as getting those. He's more to me from what I've seen, he's more of a Mike Tolbert-esque as far as getting those yardage that you need. Not just the 1 or 2 yards. He can pick up 3 or 4 if he needs to, but he's a straight ahead, head down type of runner. And I think he could be definitely a valuable commodity for this team if he's ultimately able to perform tomorrow night.
Quick question, and this is something you can answer for me. Chris Swain. We've talked about Chris Swain. He was more of a running back than he was a fullback. College. We get that. Has he done enough to even make this squad on special teams wise? Is he consideration, Jake?
Actually, I'm glad that you brought him up because I'm actually hoping that, and forgive me, because I pictured him just as a fullback on this team. I don't think of him as a running back.
Sure.
But I actually hope that he gets time tomorrow the running back position. And there's your 3 running backs that will be in competition for tomorrow night. So who knows? I mean, if Chris Swain, because we know what his versatility is, and we've talked about it many, many times on this show ever since he was brought on, and a lot of fans outside of us have been banging the drum for Chris Swain. Some people even believe that he's the better fullback than Derek Watt. But a lot of people want him on this team because he's able to.
Do you believe that?
I don't fully believe that he's the better fullback than Derek Watt. No, I believe that Derek Watt is,
the better blocker.
The better blocker, yes. But when we're talking about running capabilities, I think this was the biggest reason that a lot of people liked Chris Swain, because he was able to be that more of a dual threat. When Mike Tolbert first came on to us, he really came on as a fullback. And then when we were able to see what he was able to do when he had the rock in his hands. So it kind of reminded you of a player like that in that sort of mold. So I think that that's why a lot of people have been hoping that he would ultimately make the 53. So I would actually like to see him in both the fullback and the running back position tomorrow night and see what he could do with this type of an opportunity, because now in reality for that third running back spot, the door is wide open.
If the Colin Kaepernick story wasn't enough for you in this gut-wrenching fourth preseason game to get your heart going, this running back committee competition type thing is gonna be fun, guys. I'm excited to watch these guys, and like Jake said, I'm excited that Chris Swain might get a little time at running back, because that's what he did. He's a bigger body, but he's built like a fullback. But the running capability this man has and possesses, what if he busts a few 30-yard play, 30-yarders, and you go, wow, you open up some eyes,
Yeah, quickly want to thank Supercharged for joining us. He joined us a little bit late, but thanks for jumping in on the chat room. I love the fact, Justin, that you brought up Chris Swain, because this is an opportunity for him to make this team now. If he can show anything, one thing that you want is if a guy can play some running back, if a guy can play some fullback, and a guy can play some special teams, with every single roster spot having such value, if you have a guy that can do all those things and do them where you have enough confidence in him being out there, I think that's fantastic, and I think this is a good opportunity. I want to see him at both positions, like Jake said.
And on top of everything else, imagine this. How fitting is it that tomorrow night is the Chargers' salute to service night?
Yeah.
For the fact that Chris Swain is from Navy.
Yes.
And if he goes out and performs on this night,
they should put him at linebacker so he could sack Colin Kaepernick.
Hey, I mean, wherever he can make an impact would be great, but how fitting would it be in this final preseason game with all the elements that are there in the stadium for him to just go out and be able to put on a great performance and ultimately have that lead to the point of him being on the final 53? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting is usually the fourth preseason game, you can throw it in the toilet and you don't really care. We have a lot of intriguing stuff going on, between Dom Williams, Isaiah Burst, Rashad Bailey, DeAndre Reeves, all fighting for a spot. I think we're going to see a lot from the wide receivers. Farrow and Johnson and Swain all, running the ball. It's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be intriguing. I actually am excited to watch this game. Now, another position that we need to talk about right now, and that is the defensive line. Brandon Mebane did not play, which as long as he's not hurt, I'm fine with that. We don't need him to go out there, especially, linemen have a tendency to get rolled up on, So when Mebane has been out there, I have loved our run defense. When Mebane has not been out there, it has been not very good.
Atrocious.
We watched a game where, between the 20s, our defense looked like crap. They finally kind of tightened things up once you got to the 20. Carruthers got pushed around a lot out there, and I'm wondering, is this his final chance to even make this roster? Is Carruthers have a possibility to not make this team? So far, let's start with you, Justin, this time.
Well, I mean, the way he's playing, I haven't seen great things from him, and it's like we touched on during the Cali show, the pregame show. I wanted to see something out of Legit, and we hadn't heard much from him. Not that I needed to see a ton. I just wanted to see him make plays, and that's what you want to see defensive linemen do. They got pushed around in Minnesota until you got to the 10-yard line. They tightened the things up a little bit, kept them out of the end zone a couple back-to-back drives. So that was nice to see. But what do we talk about at Cali? You've got to stand out in the crowd. You have to stand out in the crowd, and you really haven't seen it much. I don't know if Jake's seen something else, but I haven't seen much of that. I know Darius Philon, I've seen a lot of, and he's performed well. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, not a good showing, guys, with Mebane not in the lineup.
Josh, what were your thoughts on the defensive line without Mebane?
Well, I mean, you could tell a huge difference just from game 2 to game 3 in the running game. There's a huge difference in our run stopping ability when he is not in there. And that's the whole reason he was brought in, is to plug those holes and allow the rest of our front 7 to go to work. Mebane can take up 2 guys and allow our linebackers to hit the A gaps and, make plays on the running back and or get to the quarterback. With him out there, it's what we've been seeing for the last 6 years, leaky holes in our defensive line.
Right.
Now, one thing Supercharged did bring up is Carruthers did make a big play. Remember when he split that double team and went back and made that big play in the backfield? He did. But he did seem to get pushed around a lot. And another thing Supercharged brings up is he's got to be consistent, and he's not. Uh-oh. You guys still there? All right, let me bring you guys back in here. You there?
I'm here.
Okay, something happened and we lost everybody. So now it's
That's
just
all
you
right.
and me.
Yeah, it's okay.
So
we dropped it. We were talking. Do you want to do commercial?
Yeah, let's run a quick commercial and we'll try and clean things up, and we'll be back in a minute to finish talking. We wanted to bring up Knighton to see if Knighton's been picked up. So we'll be right back.
Calling all podcasters. Have you ever wanted your voice to be heard? Do you need help expanding your audience? Are you curious just how far your show could reach? Well, look no further. We are New Media Radio Network, the premier podcast streaming network. Let us take your show to the next level. For more information, check out our website, www.newmediaradio.net.
All right, we are back right now. We got Justin and Jake on the line right now. We're trying to bring, we got Josh and Jake on the line, excuse me. We're trying to bring Justin back in real quick. I think we got him back in now. You guys there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Jake, you there?
I'm here.
Well,
we're back in better than ever.
Let me tell you something. The New Media Radio Network has to know how we truly are, and it wouldn't have been right if we didn't have some technical difficulties. But we were able to.
The most professional podcast in America.
Yes.
Absolutely. And trust me, guys, I didn't do nothing. All of a sudden, you guys just all went away and I was by myself.
Everybody left.
Everybody left me. Sticking with the defensive line, Pot Roast Knighton got released. Now, he got released for a reason. First of all, let's not mix. Obviously, he didn't get released because he's awesome anymore. Would he be a possible fit here in San Diego? Do you think the Chargers are even looking at him, Jake?
I mean, it's possible. I'm sure that Telesco and McCoy are exhausting all of their options whenever it comes to looking at the depth chart. Like we said on Sunday at Kelly Comfort, that the depth chart is never set in stone. It's always evolving. It's always moving around with different pieces. And again, if there is an opportunity that you feel that even with the depth that we've seen on this team that we're already familiar with, that there's an opportunity that you can go out and you can get a player that's ultimately that you believe is going to improve it, then why not? And of course, for as cheap of an option as Terrence Knighton was that New England brought him on, which was not a lot, if you look at the aspect of losing Damian Square for that, the 4 regular season games and now, losing that type of depth behind you from what we've seen from Ryan Carruthers or lack thereof, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to at least kick the tires on it. Because I definitely think that having Terrence Knighton behind Brandon Mebane is not a bad rotational option whatsoever.
Shout out to Geppetto on Twitter. He added me. He wanted to know from you, Jake, and we just got done touching on Ryan Carruthers. He wanted to know the depth at defensive tackle, nose tackle looks unimpressive. And we just hit on this. Is Ryan Carruthers going to be rostered, or will San Diego look at the market? And that's what we're basically talking about right now. We're not. I think a majority of us aren't convinced Ryan Carruthers is the answer there, but and that's what we're trying to get to Terrence Knighton a little bit. A big, solid veteran, and we know this guy can take up space. What do you think about him being in Pag's system, Jake, specifically? Does Terrence Knighton fill a need there? Can they run a 4-down lineman with him and Mebane and plug some holes with a solid 3 linebackers and kind of switch it up at times? What do you think?
I think it could. Does it worry you the fact that New England released him so early? There's possible things that aren't being told in the story then as far as how his progression was going in camp, maybe. But, when you look at what we've already seen from this team, what we're familiar with, Ryan Carruthers, again, we're still waiting on this guy to really show up and have some progress. Tenny Palpoy, who's another defensive tackle behind Brandon Mebane. He's another guy who I believe is much better just in rotational duties, can rotate at the defensive end spot. I think he can actually perform a little bit better there as well. So when you start looking at, guys who can really perform other than Damian Square, who I think has had a great preseason, you definitely maybe have to take a look outside the box. And maybe what the Chargers are waiting for is this final cut down day that we are all going to experience when it comes to Saturday with everybody being released, because obviously who knows who else is going to become available on the open market. But I definitely think that is possibly the number one position that the Chargers need to look at whenever it comes to signing a free agent.
Yeah,
Jake, can I ask
go ahead, Josh. Yeah.
Looking at our linebacking core right now, they have we got Melvin Ingram, Manti Te'o, Denzel Perryman, and Kyle Emanuel as on the depth chart, our starting linebackers. Any chance you see Joey Bosa out there as an outside linebacker, or is he strictly going to be defensive end?
Well, this was the interesting thing that everybody had said about him as far as, well, where does he fit in the Chargers defense when he was ultimately drafted? A lot of people figure that he was a hands-down, clear-cut 4-3 defensive end, and that making that transition into the Chargers lineup, where do you put him? So I think that if there's a chance to put Joey Bosa in a position to where he's going to perform, why not? I personally think that they're going to move him around all over the field. And like John Pagano said, they're only in their base 3-4 defense about 30% of the time. So when you factor in how much of a hybrid this defense run, I think you're going to see Joey Bosa in a multiple different spots. I think for the first couple weeks, you may see him just as a situational pass rusher, which I think is going to fluctuate the use of Jerry Atauchu as well. But I think to get him up to speed and where the Chargers ultimately need him to where he can be that full-time starter that we've all been expecting, I would expect that those first couple weeks he's just strictly a situational pass rusher. So maybe you may see him at linebacker a little bit earlier than expected because of the fact that he still needs to get up to speed.
Sticking with the linebackers, Jerry Atauchu was the other starting linebacker last year, and it does look like. Does it look like this year they're going to use him more like a situational pass rusher than a full-time outside linebacker? That's kind of what we've seen in the preseason so far, Jake.
Yeah, it's what we've seen, and again, it's all based on the packages. Kyle Emanuel has obviously done a lot in year 2 that he's kind of making his progressions and moving up the depth chart ladder. So, when you look at how Jerry Atauchu is going to be utilized, combine that with Kyle Emanuel, and now in reality, combine that with Joey Bosa as well as a pass rusher. You could have a good use of players that you can really move around the defensive line as far as your usations. But Jerry Taucho, I still think is still going to be Jerry. As the preseason's gone on, he still has performed well. It doesn't matter what part of the depth chart he's on that he's going up against these guys. He's still performed well when he's been in the game. So I think ultimately that's going to translate to the regular season.
Go ahead, Justin.
I'd just like to add, linebacker core is not one position we even need to really flinch at this year.
Yeah.
I don't say that negatively. I'm just saying we don't have to we don't have
as many worries.
Yeah, exactly. We have worries about the defensive line because Bosa hasn't been in camp. We have yet to see him Mebane, and Allegiant out there all at once. So we really haven't seen the full complement of players yet. But I think linebacker we're so set up for success because we have that depth. Kyle Emanuel. Now you bring in a Josh Perry, which we haven't seen a ton of, but he's learning. And then the elusive Jatavius Brown that we haven't seen yet either. So we'll see what happens. And I think that's one area we can really feel confident about going into the 2016 season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is one area that we should be pretty confident about. Go ahead, Josh.
I kind of want to, and I want to hear your take on this too, Jason. In the chat room, they were asking about Dexter McCoy. I did a live show during the halftime of this last preseason game on Facebook, and one of the questions, Jason, that you brought up was McCoy. And at first, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought maybe you spelt McCoy wrong. I didn't know how to
I typoed it.
But so he's asking, what do we feel like, or what do we think about Dexter McCoy?
I've been very high on him. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. Oh no, go for it.
I've been very high on him. I'm trying to remember because he made a big play. Everything's running together on me right now, but I do remember him making a big play. I think he caused a fumble. I think we were talking about he caused one because he had recovered one earlier. He caused one on Sunday, and I've been super happy with what we've seen from McCoy so far. One of the things we talked about in the pregame show was, Justin's in love with tall defensive backs, and he's a tall defensive back. But not only that, he's fast. He's not just tall, he's fast. I like what we get out of him. I'd really like to see him contributing on the special teams this year, but I'm moving forward. I would love to see him. Lowry is kind of a stopgap. I wouldn't mind him maybe taking over for Lowry next year. Am I too high on him, Jake? What do you think about McCoy?
No, I think McCoy has earned his right on this 53 roster. I mean, geez, just take a look at the last game. I mean, I believe he led the defense in tackles with 10, which is, can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on which perception that you look at it. But, he's had consistent plays made throughout the first 3 preseason games thus far. Obviously, his height and his speed and everything like that is something to be marveled and something that, you definitely want in a defensive backfield. So, it is what it is. I mean, and it's translated from the practice to the playing field. And we had a short conversation about that on Sunday. What's more valuable, practice time or time that you get a chance to play in the game? And he's been able to really capitalize on both. So I think he's earned it.
Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Jake, quick question. Who sees more time, Steve Williams or Craig Mager in the secondary?
You talk about 2 guys that, in my opinion, are battling for a roster spot right now. I mean, Steve Williams, the last I really saw of him, he's either getting burned or he's holding wide receivers and just not getting the flag thrown. And then for Craig Mager, I mean, this was a guy who we centralized around on Sunday that we just haven't seen enough of. And, he plays on special teams as well. He even got thrown in on the kick return duties for a few series. But this is just another guy that I have not seen enough of, and maybe it's just by the chance that the ball is not being thrown his direction in order for him to make a play. But where are you, guy? So I mean, I definitely think that both of these guys need to step up, in both Craig Mager and Steve Williams.
Question for you, Jake, in the on the Twitter sphere, I should say. Geppetto chimes in again with the loss of 76 and Clark at the guard position. Is Pulley the answer, or will TT look to the market? In your opinion, Luis, he wants to make sure you know about Luis Vasquez.
Yes, I still have not forgotten our conversation that we had last week about that potential signing. I thought Pulley was a guy who I definitely kept my eye on last week, and I thought did he look spectacular? No, but I mean, for what he was able to do while he was in the game, I thought he looked very impressive. Again, we're talking about an undrafted guy out of Vanderbilt who played most of his college ball at the center position, but was also had that capability of playing over at the guard. So for him to step in and for him to, again, make the impression in such a short period of time to leapfrog Kenny Wiggins on the depth chart, that says something to you. And Justin, we had talked about the comment that Matt Slauson had made about him. He may be a rookie, but he plays like a 3 or 4 year vet. Those type of comments definitely go a long way when you're talking about somebody. So I think ultimately, if it comes down to the Chargers, revamping, bringing another player in, whatever position it may be, offensive line, defensive line, I think it's all going to wait down until the final cuts for us to actually see some action.
Mikey, you're not in right now, are you? I was trying to add Mikey. Other than that, coming in on the fourth preseason game of the season, like I was saying earlier, we usually the fourth preseason game is kind of a throwaway game. We have a lot of intriguing things to happen, and one thing that we still haven't talked about, and we've been talking about it through the whole preseason so far, is the quarterback situation. Mettenberger got released, which we were expecting. He just
signed today.
Yeah, he got signed by the Steelers, right?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, well, let him.
Yeah, let him throw darts into coverage. That's fun.
Obviously it was either he wasn't picking up the offense or he just wasn't looking very strong because he wasn't even able to hit the field in the preseason games.
He was at the beach, dude. He wasn't even reading the playbook.
He looked like he was somebody from the beach. I doubt he wasn't reading the playbook.
Right near the beach, boy.
I'm assuming that we're going to see Kellen Clemens for the first half and Bercovici for the second half. Jake, is there any chance at all that the Chargers flip that script a little bit and put Bercovici, they have him start play? They're not going to really have any ones out there, but kind of play with the twos and really, really take a good look at him, or is it going to be Clemens in the first half and Bercovici in the second half?
Yeah, I still think you keep it as Clemens for the first half, Bercovici in the second, especially with the way that Bercovici played in the last game at Minnesota. He's had inconsistent weeks where first week wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. Second week, he looked fantastic. And then the third week was probably his worst game that he's put out thus far. But again, I think it's better for him just from a pressure standpoint that he's the second quarterback that's out there for the rest of that half because there is nobody else. He does not have to worry about getting the hook from the coaches this time around. So you give him that entire second half to perform. Hopefully he performs well. Shakes off that last performance this last week against Minnesota, and hopefully he can perform admirably. And, again, the debate has always been, are the Chargers going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster or just 2? I think ultimately when it comes down to it, is he a big risk, especially if he performs good in this game, that you could stash him on the practice squad? Maybe, maybe not. But, his play is going to dictate whether or not he's on this final 53.
Go ahead, Josh. What you got?
So besides Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry, I'm sure they're locks for the roster. What other of the 4 remaining tight ends do you boys see making this team?
Well, that one's interesting because we talked about that a little bit, but man, I don't know because
not only is Gates a lock for the roster, he's a lock for the Hall of Fame too. That's crazy.
And remember, Hunter Henry's a lock for the Rookie of the Year. I think I heard that somewhere.
Oh,
Horses, man.
He's the ROY, bro.
What do you think, Jake?
Hey, you know what? I'll just keep reminding you, Jason, every time that you want to bring that up, I'll just keep reminding everybody about Craig Mager's 3 interceptions.
I know. You really pointed that out on the pre.
He hammers you on that, bro. Where's those 3 interceptions?
You know what though? He's gonna get them. You watch when he gets them. All I'll do is tweet a smiley face every time.
Who's
he
going to get them for? The Calgary Argonauts?
Well,
where's he going to be playing? Come on,
sticking with the tight ends. Supercharged in the chat room says McGrath is a lock to make the team. He's listed up there on the depth chart. I was a little bit bummed when we lost Cumberland. I thought that he was going to add a dimension that we haven't had from our linebackers. I do believe that McGrath's probably a lock, and we did talk about whether or not they're going to pick somebody else up. I really don't think they're going to. I think that they're pretty much happy with what they have tight end wise. What do you think, Jake?
I think they're set. Again, yeah. Is it unfortunate that Cumberland had to sustain that injury and not be able to play this year? Absolutely. So you kind of have some question marks now behind Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry. But when you start breaking down the roster as far as capabilities goes, when you look between Asante Cleveland, Sean McGrath, Matt Weiser. I can't remember who the other the tight end was on the depth chart at this time, but thank you.
If you can't remember him, he's not making the team.
He being Sean McGrath has, the most diverse aspects to his offense as far as, can he catch in the offense if the ball is thrown to him? Hopefully. We haven't really seen much of his pass catching capabilities, but more of his blocking aspect is what Sean McGrath's been known for the little time that he's gotten an opportunity to see the field, whether it be for the Chargers or anybody else. So that'll be probably your 3 tight ends: Antonio Gates, Hunter Henry, Sean McGrath.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't, Justin, you think they're going to be looking somewhere else, or you think that they're pretty satisfied with what we have?
You know who would be a good fit in this system is Jimmy Graham. That'd be fun, right?
Well,
no,
yeah,
nobody.
no
takers.
Trade you're looking for, Justin?
Let's get a trade, man. Come on. You got Jimmy Graham, Hunter Henry, and Antonio Gates. What a
trio. Are you just bummed that we didn't, execute a trade come draft day or anything like that?
Off.
Or when was the last time that the Chargers executed a trade? Is this
AJ Smith era?
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
John Butler era, probably. No, I agree. I mean, McGrath's like the third guy, and I just, you need to add depth where you can add it. And like we said, we have to wait. We have to be patient because the cuts are coming, and there's just not going to be room for certain players on certain rosters.
Does anybody know the phone number for Alfred Papunu's agent?
Hey, I just want to say his name during a game.
Yeah, I do too.
Awesome.
Drink the pineapple.
Right.
Something Supercharged brought up back when we were talking about Bercovici, and for those of you listening for the first time on New Media Radio Network, you're going to understand that we do not stick to topic and we bounce all over the place.
Exactly.
Something Supercharged brought up was, why don't the Chargers have Bercovici start the game and play the whole entire game? And I had a couple seconds to think about it, and I love it, and I'm going to tell you why. We already know what we have with Kellen Clemens. Kellen Clemens is Kellen Clemens. He's not going to get any better. He's not. We'll call him a solid backup, but we don't see him leading this team to victory in 2 or 3 years. There's just no chance that he's going to get any better in 2 to 3 years. Bercovici, while he's not ready to play right now, while if Phillip Rivers goes down, Bercovici is not ready to lead this team to victory. Who knows in 2 or 3 years? Because he has the potential to get better. I say put him out there, have him play the whole 4th preseason game, and if he shows you enough, let's move on and let's make him the backup. Josh, you like that idea, or does that scare you a little bit?
No, I think it's a great idea. You're absolutely right. You have no reason to play Phillip Rivers. Obviously, you have no reason to play Kellen Clemens. We know what we have out of those guys, but you still want to take every chance to see what you got out of Bercovici. And why not play him for a full game? I say worst case scenario, you have Clemens play the first quarter and you have Bercovici play the last 3.
I'm going to say something that's a terrible thing to say. Who knows? Maybe Bercovici goes out there and gets some sort of a little injury and gives us the opportunity to throw him on the IR and kind of save him for a year. I don't think that would be so bad either. And I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him getting something.
You're wishing ill will on your own team.
Not ill will. Break a fingernail or something. Get him on the IR. Save him so we
go
can
out there
hold
and
him.
break a leg.
No,
literally.
No. You're turning this into something I'm not saying. Jake, is there an opportunity? Do you think that there's even a chance of Bercovici playing the whole game and the Chargers getting a good look at him?
Patty over here.
You know, Jason, I would have expected more from you, dude.
I know.
Exactly.
With the injuries, the injury history to this team, that I would have expected more from you to say such a comment.
I'm sorry, I said it already. I'm very embarrassed.
Wow.
Oh my God, what's wrong?
Craig Magers.
I just threw a flag in my bedroom.
Yeah. Okay. So Hal in the chat room,
15-yarder.
Hal in the chat room says fake an injury. Thank you, Hal, and I agree. I don't want him to get hurt. That's not what I meant. What I meant is I want to find a way to maybe cheat the system a little bit and stash him on IR because he's not really ready, but I don't want to let him go. That's my thought.
So you're backtracking off your previous comments.
Yeah,
yes,
he's backtracking.
I am already. I'm pissing back.
So you're Rodney Harrison.
Yeah,
Rodney Harrison on the Twitter.
I'm Rodney Harrison.
Just making sure. Okay,
yes.
I got you.
Dude, we were on that, Jake. We both said that like at the exact same time. Dude.
Oh, that was just fantastic. But going back to Bercovici, I love the idea. Like Josh said, at worst, hey, you get Kellen Clemens to play one quarter and give it the rest to the kid, especially for he's gotten a good opportunity the last 2 games to get in there and do something, but you'd still like to see as much as you can out of him. And for him, I think he personally, as a player, would love it. If he's not playing for the Chargers, after this week, there's a good opportunity that with this game, if he puts some good stuff on film, that he's going to end up with another squad and possibly get an opportunity to play over there. So
Minnesota.
Who knows? No, they already have one of our former quarterbacks in oh my gosh,
Brad Sorensen.
Sorensen, thank you. Yes, he flew back last night on the red eye after they just cut him a few hours before.
The flight turned around midway home.
Yes, but I love the idea. Give this kid as much playing time as possible. Give him every opportunity to make his game better. And if not for the Chargers, possibly for somebody else. I hope not. But I hope he remains with this team. But, that's just the way it is with preseason games.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, guys. I just want to see Burke out there 4 quarters. I don't need to see Kellen Clemens. He's terrible. I want to see Burke do some things with his feet, mobile, get guys on the run. That's kind of his game. He's kind of not great. He's a good pocket passer. I like what he's evolving into. Got to give him some more time.
We are San Diego sports, and I don't want to take a ton of time about this, but the game is, the 49ers are coming to town, and there's a little bit of controversy. We talked about it a little bit. I just want to go around real quick, not expound on it too much. We don't want to spend too much time, but the whole sitting down for the national anthem thing, and like I always like to do, I'm going to go first because I can. My thoughts on the whole situation from Kaepernick is I think it's a shitty thing to do, and there's a lot of other ways that you can show your displeasure. However,
control your anger, Jason.
It is a free country, and the rights of the people. He has the right to sit down during the national anthem, just like everybody else has the right to stand. So although it's a poor choice and it's something that most people don't agree with, I do believe that he has the right to do it, and just like everybody who watches him has the right to not like him for doing it. That doesn't mean all these people that want to jump in and take matters into their own hands. I think Mikey just came on. Mikey, are you there?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Good. Yes, we can hear
you.
Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Just don't yell at us.
And he's looking sharp.
So ultimately, he has the right to do it. I think it's a poor choice. And the other thing is I think he's trying to do is give himself a built-in excuse when he gets cut. Because he was going to get cut anyways, and now he can say, this is why I got cut. Jake, what are your quick thoughts on it?
I understand what Colin Kaepernick is saying. I understand the type of voice that he's trying to bring to a situation that's been well documented. But there is a different way to do it than the way that he's doing it. I mean, I don't want to release too much into this because I don't want to get angry with it. I've been frustrated with this whole situation, but there is ultimately a better way to do it when you're in an organization that supports, unity. It is a team sport and obviously has a great, respect for the military in our country. There is such a much better way to bring awareness to this situation. I mean, look at what LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and all those guys did on the ESPYs Awards. That is one example of how you try to bring more awareness to the situation and unifying and with multiple people, having one type of voice. So there is a different way to do this, and I can't agree with the way that Colin Kaepernick's going about this. And of course, contradicting himself while he's saying all of his comments and explaining about it while he's wearing a Fidel Castro T-shirt. I thought that was just fantastic. But I digress. I can't agree with the way that he's presenting it while I understand and, the point of view that he's coming from.
Yeah. Justin, real quick.
I'm not going to say much on it. I don't want to get into it like Jake does. I'm pretty angered with the whole thing. He does have his rights, and I do agree with Jason on that. I'm not going to tell anybody ever they can't do what they want to do in life or stand what they want to stand for. But there is a protocol in the NFL, in my opinion. You respect the flag. That you get paid a lot of money, and I know he's got issues with certain other issues. That's not football related. But to do it and to have this platform is great. But he's kind of using it in the wrong way, in my opinion. He's using it in the wrong way for this stance. So I'm not going to get too crazy because I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to get angry.
We don't want to turn this into the Colin Kaepernick show either.
No, this isn't for this show.
Right.
Everybody can voice their opinion. I think everybody knows where I'm coming from, and I think you're coming from. Mikey, I know is one thing. Chime in. What do you think, Mike?
Oh man, sorry, I was just grooving here to myself.
Yeah, I see that.
I was having this talk today, and I'm just kind of tired of the situation. One thing I came up with is this doesn't affect my life.
Exactly.
Like, things don't affect my life. I don't care what Colin Kaepernick does. He's not an important person in my life. It's like the days, Jason remembers the good old days before social media, when you didn't know what the other guy was doing. And I really don't care. It just doesn't affect my life. Like, he can do what he wants. What I do on my way to work today, what I do with my family and friends, nothing to do with Colin Kaepernick. I really just don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not going to, have any kind of feeling towards Colin Kaepernick because he's not my concern,
Yeah.
Right.
So that's just
I think a lot of people feel the same way you do.
Josh, I'm gonna enjoy my life and not be it's not worth it to me.
Joshy, you want to weigh in on it?
Next question.
Nicely done, sir. You deserve a free case of Ovaltine for that answer.
Oh, he's getting one too. Getting one.
As soon as they sponsor this show, we'll all get a free case of Ovaltine. Yes. So, offensive line, Slauson, we're all still very, very happy with what we've seen with him. Anybody know? My guess is DJ Fluker is not going to be playing this week. He's been tweeting out some stuff, which makes me kind of think that he's going to be ready week 1. Anybody have any thoughts on the offensive line besides Justin? Justin, what you got?
Well, no, I just got a quick, and I got thoughts. I just, we don't know what's going on with Fluker, I don't think, completely yet. So I wanted to ask Jake specifically because we kind of jumped from the offensive line subject earlier to another subject real quick. What do you think pans out with this line? Who are the guys that you can see making this 53? Because knowing what we know last year, you're going to need some guys on here. Is it Kenny Wiggins? Is Pulley going to make this team? Is what's the depth look like, Jake? And what can we expect in this game coming up? Who needs to play well to solidify their spot?
I think Pulley still needs a good game out of it. I think Kenny Wiggins needs to show a little bit more. What have you really seen from Chris Hairston? I believe he's actually signed. Correct me if I'm wrong. If he is, signed for a couple years now with this team, right. I couldn't remember if it was last year, if it was
this year. They re-signed him. They re-signed him this offseason.
Okay, so he's obviously a lock. So definitely from Wiggins and from Pulley, you need to see a little bit more. But I think on the norm, you keep about 8 offensive linemen. I think for a roster depth chart. Sometimes, depending on injuries, maybe you keep 9. But obviously, the five starters that you want to see out there is Dunlap, Orlando Franklin, Matt Slauson, DJ Fluker, and Joe Barksdale. And then, of course, with some rotational guys, obviously with some guys with versatility, you add in Max Turek in that, so he's going to be your backup center. Then you add in Spencer Pulley, who can play both the center and the guard position, along with Kenny Wiggins and then and Chris Hairston. And there's possibly your 9 right there. So one of those guys may have to go depending on where you really are. So that could really, and it's going to be a difficult decision to really let one of these guys go, especially if Spencer Pulley ends up coming on here with the last preseason game tomorrow night.
Hal in the chat room joining us, bringing what he usually brings to the chat room. We love it, Hal.
Philip Rivers hate?
Well, not yet. We haven't gotten to that yet. But he said,
don't talk to Hal about P-Riv.
He said he's not seeing the impact at center from Slauson. I actually disagree. I know that Slauson, we haven't seen a lot from our starting offensive line, but when Slauson and the starting offensive line and Gordon has been in there, I've been real happy with what I've been seeing. And I'm not just talking about the awesome audible by Philip Rivers for that great run by Melvin Gordon last week. I'm talking about the 5 yards, the 6 yards, the 4-yard runs. I've been really, really happy with those. Those are things that we weren't seeing last year. And I actually have seen the impact at center because, to me, center is the most important part on the line, and that's what we've been lacking the last few years. Go ahead, Justin.
Keep that question in mind just for a second. We have a couple questions on Twitter I wanted to get back to.
Okay.
Twitter's kind of going off right now. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Earlier, I wanted to get to Robert Duran. He chimed in about 9 minutes ago. He wanted to know about the defensive tackle position. I just wanted to clarify that we did talk about that earlier.
Okay.
We think it will be a solid unit once Bosa gets in there, Mebane gets in there. Behind those guys, we don't really
played
feel
solid so far, I think.
Palapoy's been good, but I allude to earlier, we don't feel completely comfortable with the depth of the defensive tackle. So to answer your question, Robert, I think they should probably consider looking to add depth there. I think we can all agree. Or you got to see what Mebane, you got to see what the trio can do first, and hopefully nobody gets hurt. Another question from Geppetto, Daniel, and this kind of touches on pass blocking running back. So Daniel Jeremiah listed his top. Hold on here. 3 of them are in the. What does this say? Daniel Jeremiah listed his top 5 blocking running backs. Are you concerned about the running backs and their ability to pass block for Philip Rivers? And I'll let Jake answer that.
Very, because as of this moment, we don't know what we've got with Kenneth Farrow. We don't know what we have in Chris Swain as far as pass blocking goes. So really, the only effective pass blocker that we do have is Danny Woodhead, and I mean, which is saying something.
He's good.
Can he lay a block? Sure, but he cannot do it every single time. And yeah, I mean, it kind of solidifies the fact that you're going to see a lot more of him now on third down because you don't have Brandon Oliver now in that rotational type of spot at that other change of pace back. So, yeah, I am a little bit concerned about it. I'm not going to lie, but this is what this last preseason game is for. Unfortunately, we have to roll with the cards that were dealt. Brandon Oliver is no longer with us. Dreamer Smith's no longer with us. So we have to find somebody who's not going to be able to just come in and run the block run the ball on certain downs, but we need someone who's ultimately can be a value in the pass blocking game as well.
And I'm interested to see how much Gordon has improved his pass blocking from year 1 to year 2. We haven't really had a whole lot of opportunity to see that. We might game
maybe
one.
You're reading that, Jason.
What's that?
There may be a reason we haven't seen that yet.
That's true. That's true. Maybe it hasn't improved. But I guess we're going to really find out this season if he has everything we've seen from him looks like he's improved, but we really haven't had an opportunity to see his pass blocking. You got anything else, Justin?
No, I just think pass blocking ability is all on Danny Woodhead. I mean, that's the only guy that you can really trust, and he gets run over sometimes. So that's just normal. He's only 5'7", 5'6", so whatever he is. I am concerned. It's concerning. Melvin needs to pick up in that department. Hopefully, and that's why the loss of Cumberland kind of hurts us more than we know because he's that extra big body and big packages. So,
what was the question that we were talking about before that? Do you remember, Justin? I can't.
We were talking about running backs.
We're talking about, wasn't it the offensive line with Hal said?
There we go.
Yeah,
That's right.
It
That's
was helping
right.
the running backs.
Are you
Melvin
guys
Gordon getting 3 and 4 at a time?
Are you guys interested in? Are you guys satisfied with what you've seen from the starting offensive line, particularly Slauson? I know it's only been limited, it's always limited in the preseason, but what you guys have seen, have you guys seen enough to say that our offensive line has improved and it's improved enough to carry over to the season? Go ahead, Mikey.
I'm not sure. I keep thinking like this is going to be an explosive offense, and at times I'm seeing the offensive line not be able to give the offense time to develop its plays, whether it's a pass play or a run. That's my concern, that their ability to allow the plays to develop. I think way too often they're not letting that happen, and that's why you don't see the offense living up to what many people have built as this to be an explosive top 5 offense.
What's your thoughts on that, Justin?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I was on Twitter.
That's okay. Slauson, have you seen enough out of Slauson to say that our offensive line has improved, or do you think that?
Oh yes, definitely. That question couldn't be more. I think it couldn't ring more true for our offense. I really believe he sets a tone. Even though he's not the best center in the world, he just brings an attitude and a leadership. I can tell the guys are more motivated, and that's hard to say from just watching a game. But they look better. They look better,
Yeah.
and you see Melvin Gordon hitting the hole, and it was what you were alluding to earlier, Jason. He's picking up positive yardage each play for the most part. And if you get 3 to 4 yards a carry, we're going to take that all day long. It's going to set Phillip in a good spot on passing downs, and we're going to be fine. That's what you want out of a center, a leader. You can see him pointing out coverages. He points just like Nick used to do because he's a veteran. He's been around the game, and that's really comforting to see, in my opinion.
Josh Slauson, do you think that he's added enough to our offensive line?
I think he's added enough. Can there be improvements to the offensive line? Absolutely, but I think he's added enough of a mean streak to the offensive line to get the job done and give our running game a chance to succeed this year.
Jake, take us home. Matt Slauson, is he as big of an upgrade as we all believe he is?
I think so. I mean, you guys have touched on so many points about why it generally shows in that direction, but just his attitude, and again, he makes the players around him ultimately better as far as the performance, and you could see it through these first 3 preseason games. And whether we're talking about protection for the quarterback, or whether we're talking especially in the run game, you could definitely see an improvement. And from Matt Slauson, eventually, we all know what this is going to translate to. It's going to be Max Turek's show eventually down the road. But again, having Turek develop behind a guy like Matt Slauson right now is the best thing for him. I think the Chargers could not have been more fortunate in picking him up in free agency when they did, because I think he's been a tremendous add to this team. And
another thing that he has brought, I think, to our offense is he's brought more confidence to Melvin Gordon. I think last year Melvin Gordon, as much as people wanted to bang on him for his indecisiveness, part of his indecisiveness was the fact that the second he had the ball, there's about 17 guys in the backfield ready to grab him. And we kind of alluded to that while we were watching the game. We had that big run, of course, by Melvin Gordon, and part of the deal was the fact that he did not hesitate for a second, because everybody thinks that hole was really big. However, had he hesitated for just one instance, he would have been caught. Somebody would have grabbed him, tripped him up, and maybe not tackled him, but slowed him up so he couldn't have taken it to the house. And I think that he's playing better, and he's playing with more confidence because the offensive line is playing with more confidence. Go, Justin.
Perfect segue. Playing Minnesota. You saw him and Adrian Peterson hugging after the game. They trained together in the offseason. It's well documented now. What tremendous growth. You're right. If he would have hit that 2 split seconds later, holy cow. I mean, it would have closed up. Phillip got sacked on the play, and he just kept churning. Yeah. And he got through the second level. And that safety, I think it was Terrence Newman, he had no shot.
No,
it was to the house, and I think that's what Adrian Peterson tried to drill into his head in the offseason. He knows he has the talent. You just got to hit the hole hard and hope for the best. Keep those legs moving.
Hey, Josh, Melvin Gordon of last year with a hole and a play like that, do you think he would have still taken it to the house? Let me answer that for you. No, he wouldn't have.
That's a toughie. No.
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have.
That hole was pretty big.
What do you got, Mikey?
That hole was pretty big. I mean, I think Jason could have run through that and ran it for the touchdown.
Let's be ridiculous. Let's not be ridiculous now.
Yeah, it closes up quick, man.
Jake, help me out here. Come on. Do you think that Melvin Gordon, the indecisive Melvin Gordon of last year, would have been able to take that to the house?
First off, Josh, I may have to revoke your Ovaltine card for that last comment. Dude, come on, man. I know you could make a decision over there. Yes.
He's having a tough time.
Josh is crushing candy on his phone right now.
What is it? Chicken or the egg, right?
Being productive, the most professional podcast.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord.
Supercharged agrees with me.
The answer is no. This offensive line was in shambles. There was just way too much rotation on it. And again, there was just no confidence in Melvin Gordon to make a decisive decision where he was going to run the ball. So this is easy. No.
Yeah, I agree. And that's I think that's what one of the things that Slauson, and I think it was Hal in the chat room who wasn't overly impressed with Slauson, but I do think that's one of the things that he brings to this offensive line. Like Justin said, let's not be crazy. Is he the best center in the league? No, he's not. No. But he's not the worst center in the league, and that's what we've had the last few years, is the absolute worst center in the league.
And let's put this out there too. It's not, the running game for Melvin Gordon. If that doesn't get going, this season's a total wash, guys. I mean, you can't have Phillips stand back there and throw the damn ball as much as he did last year and shotgun and out of the pistol. You just can't do it. So if he doesn't get going, the weight of the world actually revolves around Melvin Gordon this season, and it sucks to say that in his second year, but he has to run the football well to be effective offense.
What happened, Jason?
Are you reading in the chat room? Hal says thanks a lot, Hal. Hal says the only holes Jason is running through is a donut hole.
Oh, Yahtzee! Attaboy.
Oh man, that's fantastic. We love you, Hal.
I'd like to, hey, Hal, shout out to you, bro. And I love your username, and I'm going to say it online, but your Bosa is a something. Shout out
Bosa
to the
is a Charger.
Yeah, shout out to the 100 and something people listening live tonight. It's one of our better shows, listening live. We get a lot of plays during the week, and it gets up into the hundreds. But live listens, I want to shout you guys out, and thanks for participating tonight. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to call 619-866-4567. Hit us up on Twitter, SportsJunkiesSD at SportsJunkiesSD. You can follow Jason at Jason_SDSJ, myself, Justin_SDSJ, at Jake T. Hefner, and then Joshua, if he's on Twitter, he's very rarely anymore, Josh_SDSJ. So
he is there still, though.
We know he's on campus, that's for sure.
Well, he's on there sometimes. But if you guys want to, pop in some questions, we love Charger banter. We love to take your questions and answer them for you the best as we can. We're not experts by any means, but we're just fans just like yourself. So a lot of fun. Thank you for all that's listening right now.
Is that phone line actually 100% reliable right now, considering our technical difficulties?
Probably not. I think if somebody called, our whole system would shut down.
We have five people via Skype right now. The computer's starting to smoke right now. When the phone call comes in, it's going to come in through Skype too. So my house might
Jason
burn down.
Just set up another fan on the old switchboard.
Yeah,
we gotta keep that thing cool.
We're gonna see what happens if somebody calls in. We'll see if we can take it. We're not gonna guarantee nothing. Joey Bosa is being talked about in the chat room again. One thing that we haven't really discussed is I know that Jake loves when we make predictions, and Jake loves to make them, and he loves it when we ask him to make them. Joey Bosa now, of course, he's not going to play the fourth preseason game. The Chargers got a roster exemption for him. Of course, he'll be on the opening day roster as long as there's no injuries. Anybody want to make a prediction? Sacks this year? I'm going to say less than 5, to be honest with you, but that's mostly because that's not what his game's going to be, I think, this year. And I hope I'm wrong, by the way, but I think we're going to get less than 5 sacks, but that doesn't mean he's going to have an unsuccessful year. I just think that sack-wise, we're not going to see it out of him. Justin?
Sack-wise, I agree. I don't know if it's going to be huge. I hope he makes an impact getting sacks, but I think TFL's tackle for losses are going to be more of his game.
Yep.
Shedding blocks, getting around the edge, and bringing ball carriers down like he did at Ohio State. He's going to find out real quick. This isn't the Big 12. The Big 10. I think it's the Big 10. Real quick. So, I mean, it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be a learning experience for him. He can bull rush like no other. You watch tape on this kid. This is why you get a guy like this. He will make an impact, and he will drive linemen into the quarterback once in a while. So let that be known. But I don't know about the sacks yet. I'm going to say 6. I'll say it'll be a solid rookie year, 6 sacks, and he'll have a ton of TFLs.
And maybe just 1 or 2 yard gains on the rush for the running back, which I'm fine with also. What do you think, Mikey?
Exactly.
I agree with you, Jason. I think he's not going to get many of them. I think he's going to have like a late start getting adjusted. And because of his position, he doesn't get many periods. So I'm going to say about 1.5. Again, sacks isn't the end-all, be-all stats. So, so I think 1.5. Just conservative here.
Josh, wake up. Josh, wake up. What's your thoughts? What's your predictions for Joey Bosa, sack-wise?
He injures 2 players with his tacking ability. That's my prediction.
Oh, wow. An old Mr. T reference. Pain. I don't know if anybody ever saw Rocky 3. Jake, I know you hate making predictions, and we always put you on the spot. Joey Bosa predictions for the sacks this year.
Really know how much I hate this.
I know, that's why we do it to you.
That was a Josh little comment right there.
At least I'm going to give an answer, sir.
Yes.
Again,
Yahtzee.
That Ovaltine card is just inching ever closer to the
revoked. It's revoked.
I'm gonna say at most that he's going to, I'll go 1 step above Justin. I'll be optimistic here, and I'll say that he'll hit 7. But it's still going to be slow. I think most of his is going to come toward the tail end of the year. However many there are, especially for the fact that we still have to be patient with his production. We can't expect him to come in week 1 and week 2 and just light the entire world on fire, specifically for the fact that he's only going to be in my opinion, on situational pass rushing drills. But as the year goes on and he's been going to be able to grasp that starting role a little bit more, I think that his numbers are definitely going to exceed more. But I mean, again, every other category for a defensive player, tackles for losses, quarterback pressures, you definitely expect those things to go up high.
Yeah, Supercharged in the chat room says 5 to 5.5 sacks. He's going to be taking up blockers. And, the way that we're going to find out if Joey Bosa is having a successful year, and same with Brandon Mebane, and that's if our linebackers are out there making plays. Because if they're tying up blockers and allowing our linebackers to flourish, our defense is going to be in just fine shape. We don't need sacks. Go ahead.
Well, look, this is why, and I hate to interrupt, and I do that normally, but I'm sitting here and I'm so in agreement with you. We haven't seen this group together at all, and that's what you draft a guy like this for. That's why you bring in a free agent like Brandon Mebane. That's why you have a Corey Legion on the other end. Haven't seen the full complement of guys, and we've touched on that. Imagine what this unit can do after 5-6 weeks together with Bosa being actually in football shape, quote unquote, and then these linebackers filling gaps and making plays with Denzel Perryman and Te'o and so forth. So, wow, what a possibility it could be with the push they can get up front. That's going to be the key. We haven't seen push in how many years, fellas? We've been clamoring for a defensive tackle. We haven't had one. So with these 3 in the mix, and once I'd say week 4, they're probably going to get their S together. And I think they'll be able to start knocking fools down, and it should pay off in the long run. This could be a great unit.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned him before. You mentioned him earlier. One of the things that we all keep forgetting to talk about is Legit. I think that this all is just fantastic for Legit. he's really, really good. We didn't get a chance to see that last year because he was really the only guy. I do have concerns, though, and we talked about it before. You get Bosa and you get Legit and you get Mebane rotating out of there, and there is quite a step down. Let's be honest here. We have we have from our number ones to our number twos, we have quite a drop off, and
yes.
We talked about Palapoy. We're happy with what we've seen from him, but he's nobody's screaming that he should be starting. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's like Josh Taylor's fantasy drafts. He drafts really two good guys, and then it's a drop off from there.
Never miss an opportunity to take a jab at poor Joshy.
I see him. We got a rant on him. He moved away.
Absolutely, Justin. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Jake, are you worried? Are you worried about our number twos on the defensive line?
Well, I mean, given with what we've seen in their performance thus far, yeah, I think there is a little bit of reason to question it. But this is going to come in with the fact of, obviously who's going to replace Damian Square for the first 4 games. I mean, I definitely think that Darius Philon has made some nice progression from year 1 to year 2.
Yes.
But now where are we going to see other guys like Tenny Palapoy step into play? And again, I think that this is going to be the forefront of, if the Chargers ultimately sign a free agent here in the next week before week 1, that the defensive line is definitely priority 1. So, it'll be interesting to see how these guys are ultimately going to gel, especially for the fact, preseason is not the regular season, so you're going to see a lot more of the starters in. So maybe some of these guys are better in their rotational roles. So it still is a question up in the air for ultimately how these guys are going to come out and perform.
Well, anything else on the 4th preseason game that we can learn from this? I know usually we get to the 4th preseason game, like I said it before, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. But is there anything else that we haven't covered yet? Go ahead, Justin.
Well, we didn't really hit on the secondary too much. I know we talked Dexter McCoy a little bit, but I think, as far as some of these guys trying to make a name for themselves, just like I said earlier, stand out in the crowd, make some plays. Adrian Phillips, you got to see something here. And I think there's a real battle going on. I'd love to see Dexter get like the entire game to himself. And I know that's probably not going to happen, but, that's going to be a real battle in the secondary. We already know our corners. They're solidified, the first 3 guys. Mager, like we touched on, is not really what we're looking for right now. He just really hasn't. Maybe they just haven't thrown to him or his way. I know you're an advocate for him, but I just really would like to. That's what I'm going to really focus on. Besides the running backs, the backup running back position, I'm really excited about watching the secondary play tomorrow night.
Any surprise cuts? Anybody have any thoughts that we might surprise cuts? Guys that you expect to make the team that have a possibility to get cut? Go ahead, Justin.
John Carney might not make this team this year.
Wow.
Just kidding.
I'm thinking. I don't know if it'd be a surprise, but I'm not sure Phillips is going to make the team. Anybody else want to chime in? We'll go to you, Jake. Do you see anybody that you think might be kind of a surprise cut? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know if it would be considered a surprise as far as what we've seen thus far, and from guys that we've been expecting to step up. Carruthers, honestly, at this point, wouldn't surprise me if he's let go. Phillips is another guy just from we compared it again. Practice time to playing time. Now, obviously, he's got an advantage for the fact that he's been with this team for a little while now, but wow, man, getting juked out of your shorts by Teddy Bridgewater is nothing to be happy about. And there were a lot of other plays during that game that Phillips just did not have a good performance. So he obviously has some work to do in this preseason game. Steve Williams, Craig Mager, all are possibilities to be cut. Again, I don't know if we would really be surprised by any of these guys being let go. And I know we haven't talked about it so much, but I think it's it'd be interesting to see where Nick Zubnar ends up on all of this. And again, not a surprise if he ultimately gets cut, but good authority from what I've heard. And I'll knock on wood when I say this, that Jatavius Brown is healthy, and there's a possibility that he could see his first taste of preseason tomorrow night. So with that being said, him adding into the equation and finally get some playing time, this may work Nick Zubnar out of a rotational spot on this team. So again, when it comes down to final cuts, now for the fact that we're all the way down at 75, none of these may actually seem like a shock, and for some of them may seem like a long time coming.
I think any of those guys, honestly, that you mentioned getting cut would be a little bit of a surprise. But at the same time, I could see any of those guys being cut, especially Stevie Williams. Besides the one game last year, I've been thoroughly unimpressed with, and in the preseason too, thoroughly unimpressed. Supercharged throws somebody out there. Now, I'll tell you what, if this guy gets cut, I will be completely shocked now, and that's Dontrell Inman. I think he's a lock to make the team now with what's gone on, but he threw Dontrell Inman out there as a possible surprise cut. Anybody else see that happening? Josh, do you see that happening?
Inman, no, I don't see Inman getting cut at all. I think with the loss of James Jones, there's no way that Inman does not make the team at this point, in my opinion.
Kellen Clemens, if Kellen Clemens got cut, I've been saying I kind of want them to go that direction, but I still think I would be pretty shocked if Kellen Clemens gets cut. Anybody else think would be you wouldn't be shocked?
No, get him out of here. It's terrible.
I would agree with that.
Jake, what's your thoughts? I missed that.
I would agree. I would be very shocked if that happened.
Yeah.
Again, if that's the case, then Mike Bercovici is playing this entire game and he's putting up 5 touchdowns the way he did against.
He's on my fantasy team.
5 touchdowns. Let's do it.
First round, baby.
Josh, do you have anybody that you think is a possible surprise cut, or somebody that you're worried might be a surprise cut? Anybody that we haven't mentioned, or somebody that you agree with that we've mentioned already?
No. For the most part, I think our roster's decided, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think these guys are playing for jobs elsewhere or the practice squad at this point. I think our roster, for the most part, is
except for the wide receivers. Wide receivers still up in the air. I don't think that wide receiver and running back. I think that those are the most undecided positions.
Maybe the tight end position.
Yeah, possibly, but none of those guys really being cut would be a surprise to me, anyways. Mikey, you got any surprise cuts you think might or could happen?
No, but I would be interested to see if I like what Supercharged said. I mean, it would be interesting to see if Inman got cut. I'm not saying I would be surprised. I would just be interested. I could see a case being made for him if they cut him. Like, I just don't.
A couple weeks ago, I could see that, but now I just can't. And I don't hate any Charger. I don't hate him at all, but I just haven't been as impressed with him as others have.
Exactly. That's why I think he's kind of just been there, There's anything that impressed me.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know. Did you have a chance to weigh in there, Justin? I forgot.
Not on the cut, guys, and that's fine. I don't have a huge opinion on it. I think we're going to let this play out in the 4th preseason game.
Carruthers would be kind of a surprise, though, right? If Carruthers got cut?
Sure, and who's your boy on the linebacking core? I'm just drawing a blank right now that you love. You had a hard-on for a while.
Me?
We mentioned him on the podcast. Yeah, podcast on Sunday.
Donald Butler.
No. He's kind of like a third string, but he's good on special teams.
Zubner?
And no, the other one. Help me out here, guys. Linebacker. Kind of on the bubble, and I know the
not
name's
Perry, right? We're not talking about Perry.
No, I'm not talking about the rookies. I'm talking about guys who's been here a couple years.
Williams.
Yes, Torque Williams.
Yes, Torque Williams.
I don't know if it would be a huge shock if he was let go. I don't know.
Good call.
And I don't know if Jake has any opinion on this. I just think our linebacking core is so deep, and they're not going to let go of their rookies. You add special teams depth with some of these guys. I don't know. Torque Williams is kind of a conundrum to me. He might not make this team.
Good call, Jake. Torque Williams, has he shown enough to make this team?
I like the fact that you brought him up. Again, we talk so much about how do you make this team, and it's being versatile and being able to play in multiple spots. And, for Torque, maybe he hasn't shown everything that you need to see from him out, when he's out there defensively. But as a core special teamer, he can definitely do the work. And he was doing that last year before he ultimately went down with the injury that put him out for the entire season. Exactly. So I think for the fact that he has that versatility, obviously he's got familiarity with the team. And he's in his last year, regardless. He is in a contract year with the team anyways. So again, I think having the presence there for someone who's been there now for, what has it been, 4 years, and can play both defense and special teams, I think that's a commodity that the Chargers will ultimately hold on to. So right. I would agree. I would be mildly surprised if Torrek Williams was ultimately let go.
Here's a question too. What's how many linebackers do we keep this year? I know last year we had a lot.
27.
We traditionally keep a lot. What do you think, Jake? Is it going 9-10 again? I think it was last year. What's your opinion?
Well, if we start going down the list, it's Ingram, Atauchu, Emmanuel. Help me out here, whoever I'm.
Butler. I almost said Butler. Oh my God.
Harriman, AL, Airy, Brown. Zumnar's probably the one that could be the odd man out of all this. Williams obviously is one who I believe is going to stick. I don't know what position you're really ranking. Yeah, he's obviously there, but I don't know if you're ranking Joey Bosa as a linebacker or defensive end. You're probably labeling him as a defensive
end. Yeah.
Yeah, DN.
I would think out of all those guys, there's other guys such as Ben Gardner who's in the mix, who ultimately is going to win out for the final spot. But I think that Nick Zumnar is definitely probably the man that is mostly on the bubble right now.
Yeah. I agree. I think Josh is. Are you leaving, Joshy?
Yeah, I'm taking off, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, where are you headed?
We're used to.
You going to get some yogurt or something?
We're used to getting Josh for only 15 minutes.
Going to complete that Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that Candy Crush high score.
Yeah.
He's going to get his Ovaltine card back and go a big case of it.
15 minutes.
What's that?
Oh, nice.
You got me for 7 times my normal 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're happy. We'll take.
You don't always have to stay that long, brother. You can always go watch Guiding Light.
We love you. We love you, boss Josh. Thanks for joining us. We're going to wrap things up in a little bit, anyways. But thanks for sticking with us, man. We look forward to talking to you next Wednesday.
Later, buddy.
Right on, guys. Next Wednesday, I'll see you then.
All right, man.
Bro.
Bye.
Bye.
So I think that one of the cool things that we have going into this fourth game is something that we don't usually have, and that's actual roster spots being fought for. And that makes the fourth game intriguing. Usually the fourth game is just a bunch of garbage, and you have a few fringe guys who might be making the team. But we have some real battles here that we're looking at. We're looking at wide receivers. There's, what if the Chargers only kept 4 wide receivers?
You're still on that, aren't you?
Yes,
it's not going to happen, bud. I mean, you can't keep 4 wide receivers. You can't just keep 4 wide receivers. We do 4 wide receiver sets all the time. What do you think? One guy's going to go down, and then what?
know. I just, I don't. So Dom Williams, Isaiah Burse, Rasheed Bailey, and DeAndre Reeves. I'm gonna predict that Isaiah Burse is the guy who makes this team. Of those 4 guys, and I don't know why Dom Williams has had a couple big games, but who's going to make it, Justin? Of those 4 guys, which one of them is going to make it?
Well, that's what we're watching. I think this fourth preseason game.
Tell me who though. Who do you think?
Well, if I had to pick, I think it's Isaiah Burse. I like Isaiah Burse, and I that's who I like. I don't know what he's going to do tomorrow night to prove me otherwise, and I don't know what Reeves is going to do, and I don't know what the other kid's going to do. So we'll see. Yeah. This is exactly what you were just touching on. These battles are so fun to watch. This is going to be a fun fourth preseason game for the most part because we like to watch this kind of stuff.
Jake, which one of those guys is going to make the team?
I think the way that Isaiah Burse and DeAndre Reeves make this team is their ability to contribute in the special teams game. They've both been used at the returner spot. I think they really need to show some flash in returning their kicks. I think that's ultimately where they're going to make this biggest impact, even being the hypothetical 5th receiver on the depth chart. I think right now the person whose job it is to lose is Dom Williams, considering the fact that he has put up the best performance out of all of these receivers thus far. So it's his job to lose. But again, we go back and we talk about the fact that, hey, Dontrell Inman is making this team specifically for, in reality, doing nothing so far this preseason.
Yeah.
But he's got the versatility to play both in the regular offense and on special teams. And if DeAndre Reeves and Isaiah Burse can show that they can do that, then they could possibly leapfrog Dom Williams in that respect.
Well, let's not disregard what Inman's done in the NFL so far.
Yeah, and
he has put stuff. He has put stuff on tape, and we know this is the 49ers. He what he did against the 49ers last year was amazing. So he has NFL experience. These are real bullets flying games. So he's head and shoulders above everybody else, and that's just that's easy to call.
Yeah, that's a good point. Supercharged agrees with you, Jake, on the sense that Dom Williams is his choice. He's seen the most out of him. Mike, which one of those guys is going to make the team, you think? Mikey.
I think Mikey's out of it.
Mikey just dropped out, I think.
Yeah,
so.
his little logo looked kind of funny on here, but I thought he might still be with us. Quickly, I know we talked about it before, but running back, Kenneth Farrow or Gus Johnson? Justin, which one?
Well, Kenneth Farrow. I'm going to go with him. I haven't even seen Gus Johnson. Hopefully, we'll get a little taste of him this tomorrow night. So we'll see. I like Kenneth Farrow and what he brings. I hope he gets extensive time. I think that's what Jake hopes for, and I think we can all hope for that. I'd really like him to make his case to be on this roster. I really like the kid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would like to see Swain get some carries, though. Jake, which one of those guys makes the team?
It's Farrow's job to lose right now. I mean, I don't think that Gus Johnson can come in on a whim in less than a week and put out an eye-popping performance to where he's going to be the number 3 guy all of a sudden. Now, yes, he's got more NFL experience than Kenneth Farrow does, but at the same time, you're again talking about changing offenses, getting familiarity with a new team, with a new quarterback. I think it's just too much to overtake where Kenneth Farrow is thus far since practicing for him and being familiar with his team since April. And I think he's going to get a great opportunity tomorrow. And again, Chris Swain, I hope he really gets an opportunity too. I think personally, in my opinion, that these are the top 2 guys to possibly earn that number 3 running back position.
Let's not forget Gus Johnson has called more games than Kenneth Farrow.
That is true. He even called some MMA also.
Yes.
Gus Johnson. Anybody remember who cut him? Somebody asking Supercharged asking in the chat room, and I cannot remember.
I think it was the Cowboys.
I don't think it was the Cowboys.
He went from Dallas to
Oakland, I think.
He was an undrafted free agent out of Oakland, then spent some time with Dallas, was cut by them, then was picked up by Atlanta. Yeah. And then was ultimately cut by them as well.
Yeah. Does he have? Do you know if he has any actual NFL carries?
In the regular season, no, I don't believe so. In preseason, though, especially for Dallas, I know that he was actually kind of a hot commodity for some of the performances that he was able to put on during the preseason.
Yeah.
What's his game? Is he a scat back? Is he a power runner? Since none of us have really seen him, I don't know if he did
He kind of compared him to Tolbert, I think. Isn't that what you said, Jake?
Oh, was that it?
It wasn't Gus Johnson I compared Tolbert to. It was more of Chris Swain's type of style.
What would you compare Gus Johnson to?
He's more of to me, he's more of a downhill type of runner. He's not really a scat back type. He's 5'10", I believe. And he's going to be like the generic running back type of style that you want to see, but it's more of a Michael Turner-esque than a LaDainian Tomlin-esque, I guess is the best way to describe him.
So a tweener a little bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Probably not going to make the team, though. I think he was brought in here just for a body because we needed another guy carrying the ball in the 4th game. Well, guys, I think that's going to wrap things up. I am actually, believe it or not, looking forward to the 4th game of the preseason just because there are some really intriguing matchups. Ultimately, there's a lot of guys that I want to see not even see the field. I think that
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's so many guys that we don't need to see the field. It's going to be interesting next Wednesday. We'll be talking about those final cuts, and I do believe, and I think Jake talked about this quite a bit tonight. We're going to be, whatever the final cuts are, will not be the end of it. I think the Chargers are going to be really, really looking out for. Actively looking for a 3rd running back, actively looking for some defensive line help, especially with. I just lost his name. Missing 4 games. Somebody want to shout it out for me?
It's Damian Square.
Yeah, Damian Square missing 4 games. I think that he was going to give us some depth that we really, really need. And the fact that he's still playing in the preseason tells me that the Chargers still have him in the plans, that they're not going to move on from him after 4 games. Right. But and the quarterback position especially. I'm really looking forward to see who gets what playing time and see what that does. Anything specific that you're looking for, Justin?
Like we touched on earlier, I'm really looking forward to the running backs. That's going to be a lot of fun. Wide receivers, of course, and Positive Patty over here thinks we're going to keep 4 wide receivers on the roster.
I think we might. I know.
You're
I think
crazy.
We might.
Don't.
I am crazy.
Be positive. Get more guys in there. And then also, like I touched on earlier, safeties. I want to see the safeties play well. Secondary, I'm fine with. I don't need to see the backup, cornerbacks. I think are 1 through 3 set, and then I think 4 and 5 for packages will be determined down the road. But definitely intrigued by the secondary play on tomorrow night's game.
Another thing before I ask Jake, it was brought up in the chat room with Swain being compared to Mike Tolbert. Another thing another dimension he brings to the team is short yardage packages. Not just handing it to the up back, but actually having a big guy that we can have line up deep at running back and get those yards is another thing that we can look forward to if he makes the team. Jake, anything particular you're going to be watching for tonight? Fourth preseason game.
Outside of the position competitions that we've been talking about all night on here, I'm looking forward to finally seeing Jatavius Brown hit the field for the first time.
Perfect.
He's going to get a significant amount of playing time tomorrow night, and of course, he needs those in-game reps. And of course, there's so much intrigue around this kid, even being from a 5th-round pick out of Akron. But we've been really waiting to see what he can do,
yes.
And how he's going to be factored into the linebacker rotation and where they're ultimately going to see as his best fit. So that's probably the one thing that I'm excited about, because he's the one guy we have yet to see on this team, aside from Bosa, get a chance to play.
Yeah, we've been talking about him a lot, and each week hoping that we're going to see him, and really we haven't at all had a chance to. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Once again, Jake, we appreciate everything you bring to the show, and we appreciate you coming on. For those of you listening, you can follow him at Jake T. Hefner. You can look for his articles at boltbeat.com. Tons of stuff there. Jake is a fantastic writer. He's not the only one writing there, though. There's a lot of people writing a lot of really good stuff. Anything that you're particularly working on right now?
We're going to have a lot after this preseason game and gearing up for week 1. So I may have carpal tunnel here in the next couple. I guess that's the best way to sum it up.
Take your vitamins.
Awesome. We look forward to reading it. Always a fun read. Follow him at Jake T. Hefner. He is interacting with people all week long, and then he comes on our show and talks about a lot of the stuff that he was interacting with. So give him a follow. Tweet him during the week, and he'll answer. It's fun to read. It's fun to see the back and forth. Justin, once again, thank you at Justin_SDSJ. Thanks. He took over the Sports Junkies Twitter handle.
Twitter.
And you just changed it. What's the new Twitter handle we got?
Well, we're doing Sports Junkies SD because it used to be SD Sport with a T, no S, Junkies. So it kind of got confusing for some people trying to find us. So I just made it a little more simple. Couldn't do a few other ones that were taken. So Sports Junkies SD, you can follow us. Tons of great followers on there, and that's the period of time you guys can tweet in some questions during the show for us and for Jake. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we want to, I want to thank everybody that was in the chat room. The chat room was pumping tonight. We want to thank all of the live listeners.
Hold on here. Let me count the live listeners that we were up to. Let me see here.
While you're counting,
we're up. We're up to 130. So
nice.
I mean, it's good for us. We don't get a lot.
It tells us football season is here.
That's what we do during football season,
Yeah.
so that's a good thing. And the volume is great, and the questions roll in, and your participation is warranted. We love it. Thank you.
For those of you listening to us on our new outlet, New Media Radio Network, we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate being part of that. We're very excited to be part of that. And just so you know, keep listening there, but come to Spreaker.com. Search for San Diego Sports Junkies every Wednesday at 7. Every Sunday during the regular season from 9 o'clock to 10, we'll have a pregame show. We got a phone number. You can call in at 619-866-4567. You can be in the chat room. All sorts of stuff going on. Jake, Justin, thank you so much for being part of the show this week. We had a great time. We look forward to talking to both of you guys next Wednesday.
Great job, fellas.
Can't wait, guys. Thank you.
All right. So this is it. This is the San Diego Sports Junkies show for the fans.
By the fans.
And we are out.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smeed, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.